Greetings and welcome back to yet another daily run, and today we are playing as Azazel. And it's been a very long time since I've played Azazel, but I'm glad he's on docket today because he's one of those characters that's really fun to play whenever you just want to relax. And I had a long day behind of me, and I just felt like playing an easy character. Sadly, this run doesn't start out too well. We pick up Anarchist Cookbook, which spawns bombs in random locations around the room, and that usually ends up damaging you more than it does helping you, so I would not recommend using it unless you're a psychopath like I am. But either way, all kidding aside, it can be useful sometimes when you have like a lot of mushrooms in the room or maybe a lot of skulls. And in that situation, it works well, in my opinion, just as a way of clearing the room. It also works well in larger rooms, where you can dodge the bombs a bit more effectively, especially if there are a lot of enemies. But in small rooms, I would definitely recommend you not use it, because it does often end up being a detriment instead of help. Azazel is one of those characters, that starts out really strong, but you can fall into a slump if it's annoying. He does have flight, which is great. And he does also have only black hearts, well, at least at the start, which might seem bad, but it's not really, because if a room is making you kind of giving you trouble, if you get hit, the enemies in that room will die, at least early on when they have less HP. So yeah, there's really nothing to hate. He even has brimstone. The only legit complaint you can have against him is that he has very low range, and that can be very annoying against certain fights, like Ragman even, for example, because most of his shots that he does are homing, and when you're close up next to him, it's kind of hard to dodge. So the best bet against Ragman is just to wait for him to detach his head, and then you go for the head. That's probably the safest option. I got a bit greedy at the start and I got hit, but that's how it goes. Another reason that Azazel is, in another fight where Azazel is bad is against Hush, because if you don't get any upgrades, especially range upgrades, it's so difficult to fight Hush, just because he has so many attacks that are very, very, very hard to dodge when you're next to him, and with Azazel you have to be. You saw my suboptimal usage of the bombs there, and somehow it managed to hit me, and I was not looking forward to this room because they're champion monsters. They do 1 full heart of damage, and not only that, there are 2 of them in a very small room. So I got kind of lucky to get a few spirit hearts of our that spirit heart machine. I forgot how it's called, the fortune teller. Yeah, the fortune teller. And I was lucky enough to get 2 spirit hearts out of my boss, so that actually allows me to afford a devil deal, a sacrificial dagger. It didn't end up mattering too much because of certain combo that happens later, but still, whenever you can, you do want to try to guarantee that devil deal on the 2nd floor, where it's 100% chance you're gonna get it if you don't take any red heart damage. And usually those devil deals early on do help you out immensely later on, the farther you go. So this floor was kind of funny in a sense that there were a lot of things that went just wrong. So first of all, I see that mom's key and it's 15 cents, and in my mind is like, okay, get some money so I can hopefully buy that item and get like a lot of points. But yeah, first problem is because I spent so much money on the fortune teller, I don't have any money on this floor, so that's a bummer. And this floor is almost coming to an end, and I have like 9 cents, and this chest gives me 5 cents. And I'm at 14 cents, and I have no charges. I have 2 bombs. First bomb goes to the shopkeeper. The spider hits me because he kind of lands at a weird angle, so that's unfortunate. And the second bomb tries to go for the second secret room. I try a lucky shovel, and thankfully it's a crawl space. And look at this. A bomb spawns behind me, and because I can't knock it back because I have brimstone, it actually hits me for a full heart. And that's... I would say that was one of the most unfortunate floors for me, just overall, because for all of that to happen, a lot of things had to go very, very wrong. And if I just spent 1 less cent on the previous floor, I would have had enough money and I wouldn't be put in this position. But what can you do, that's gonna happen sometimes. Also, another thing I would like to mention is that I didn't explicitly mention earlier on, we got rubber cement, and what rubber cement does is makes your tears bounce. That is all gonna be invalidated by Ludovico technique, but if you're Azazel and you have low range brimstone and you shoot your tears or your brimstone into the wall, it will actually bounce once for the full range, so you can use the walls to your advantage to kind of have like a regular brimstone, but not really, because, you still have to bounce it off the floor. But yeah, that is totally invalidated by the fact that we picked up Ludovico technique. And Ludovico technique allows us to control our tier. And if we have brimstone, it gives us this giant circle of blood doom. And it's a very fun synergy. It's something that I didn't get many times at all, because those items together are pretty rare. And with just how many items there are in the game, it's quite hard to get some of these more fun synergies. But when they do happen, they feel that much more special and fun, because you can kind of play with them. The brimstone, deals like the normal amount of damage. The only the good thing about having a controlled brimstone Ludovico is that you have much more surface area that you can cover. Obviously, with the little brimstone, you can't really do much because you can only cover so much distance. But with this larger brimstone, you can really control enemies much better because, like I said, you cover more surface. And it's even very useful against enemies that split into more enemies, because if you kill one at the edge, at one edge, and enemies spawn, it's very likely that they will fly into the next edge or maybe another edge. I know it's a circle and it only has one edge, but I'm saying like sides of the circle as edges, so maybe that's not like the most technical term, but I hope you can see where I'm coming from. But yeah, with this combo, there's not much we can worry about, especially because we have flight. We are able to just chill out over some chasm or some pit and just, control our tier. On some fights, having Ludovico is very useful, like I mentioned, when I had it in one of my runs. But just because you don't have to move, you can just leave the tier there, and the only thing you have to do is dodge. You don't have to move the tier, that's what I meant. And you can see just how much damage, just how much potent damage we have with all of our combinations that we have, because Mom died in like half a second. And this boss rush is one of those. Boss rush is usually not a fun place to use Ludovico just because it's such a large room and it's hard to control the tier, especially if your shot speed is low. Another unfortunate thing is that we're rather slow, so it's very hard to kind of navigate things in a way that's optimal. But luckily we did get Unicorn Stomp, and Unicorn Stomp allows us to get invisibility for a few seconds, and you can see that it's on a one room charge, which means that whenever we use it and kill a wave with it, it recharges and we can use it again. And because we have two pretty good orbitals, the knife and the ball of bandages, we can deal some serious damage. And at this point we can basically use this combo every single room without ever having to worry about taking damage, unless we we play something dumb. But yeah, at this point, I would say the run is won. I'm not comfortable enough saying by how much it's won, because it's still possible to make mistakes, especially Hush. Hush is gonna be the main problem, because like I said, our speed is slow, and Hush has some attacks that really don't work well if you're slow, and it's hard to dodge them. But yeah, this overall still, we have all the components on a good run. We have good damage, especially from this Devil Deal, because we get a few more damage ups. We got good damage, we got good tiers, good crowd control, we have good penetrative shots, and just overall, we have a lot of consumables as well. Not a lot per se, but we have the potential to get a lot of consumables. And so far, this run is looking good, except for that one obvious problem, which I always do, is just take too much damage, because I am, I guess, impatient, and I do things in a weird order, I guess, and then I get hit more than I should have get hit. Of course, it's in our best interest. Another reason for me trading those hearts for the Devil Deal, which might seem like it wasn't that important, is that we are at least at one or less hearts, because in that case the boss trap room becomes open, and boss trap rooms actually give you quite a lot of score. So if you have the ability to kind of trade your hearts to only have one or less, that's usually a good idea, because you can then visit those boss trap rooms and do some fancy things with them. We got Chaos here. It doesn't end up being too much of a consequence, I guess. Chaos is an item that, if you don't know, kind of randomizes the item pool. So you have some items in the shop that you can only get in the shop, and you have some items that you can only get in the treasure rooms or the Devil Deals or whatever. And this item, what it does is just kind of randomizes it, so you can get any item from any item pool at any room you visit. So that means you can get shop items in the item room, and you can get items in the shop. But of course, because there are not a lot of items coming up in the following floors, only on the chest, we have at least 4 guaranteed items. The rest, it didn't end up really mattering all that much, but still, it's a fun item. I pick it up whenever I can because it can also be kind of useful. And it has one problem, because how it works is, first of all, it chooses an item pool, and then it generates an item. And because there's an item pool that only contains bomb items, you're much more likely to see bomb items after you pick up chaos than before. So that means that the items that give you 5 bombs, like poison bombs or scatter bombs or mega bombs, or all of those bomb items will be more likely to show up. So that can be kind of fortunate when you're just playing and half of the items you see are bomb items. So that's maybe a reason why not to take this item. But overall, it can produce some very interesting combinations and things to happen that sometimes you wouldn't expect. And that's just, maybe just a thing to consider. Maybe in dailies it's not like the best item, but it's certainly a fun item. I hope it gets changed for Afterbirth Plus, that it will actually pull, that it will have an equal chance to pull from every pool of items. And that means that just all the items you get will be uniformly distributed, so that some items won't appear more often than others. But yeah, our game plan here is going to a room, press spacebar, and just massacre everyone with our blood lasers and our knives that are kind of floating around us. Of course, we're still on the lookout for secret rooms, the second secret rooms, but at this point, there's not really much we can do, except place bombs at locations. That's the only strategy we have to employ from this point on, just place bombs at positions that we feel are secret rooms. We don't even have to worry about enemies anymore because they can't hit us. And yeah, with that said, that's actually this is it for this run. It was a bit shorter maybe, in just in case of commentary, but that's just because, of the nature of the run. There weren't really many decisions. It was more of an easy mode run, and those are sometimes very nice, especially after hard dailies. You can see that it takes a bit of time to load my rank, but it's 89th, and because I'm playing this a few hours later than usual, I think this is pretty good. I did get hit a lot, but that's just what happens with me. Either way, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time.